Your significant other will eventually love you one day for that. When you learn that habit, you know what I mean?
Take notes, boys.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Unbasic. Today's going to be a great episode. Got a real banger for you here. A couple things before we get started. You might notice that the set does look a little bit different. We're still making some changes, making improvements, trying to make everything look aesthetically pleasing as possible. The spacing, like as pleasing as possible, social distancing. Just kidding. But yeah, just trying to make everything look as normal, natural, as good as possible. Then also, go buy the merch, unbasic.shop, baby. Friday night is when the sale ends. A lot of you know I do have a sale going on that was through this entirety of the week. If you use the code SIMP, S-I-M-P, you can go get 15% off your sale. That ends Friday at 12. With that being said, we have a great guest today, ladies and gentlemen, Matt Reidhead.
Hey, how y'all doing?
He's a kind of an influencer on on the gram right now. I know he has a little business going on with his wife right now called Ripped Reidheads. Yeah, you want to tell me a little bit about that? Or?
Yeah. So my wife and I started a little. We always worked out together when we first got married, and then we kind of decided hey, we're already working out together. Why don't film it? I mean, I think it's like how a lot of YouTube starts, to be honest. We do funny or dumb things. Let's film it and see what makes of it, And we essentially wanted to create an Instagram that essentially was a one-stop shop for anybody, all health living, health style. We try to involve like sleeping, eating. Mainly it's been workouts and free workouts that you can follow with us to gain, and you can ask us questions at any time. We'll help you out. We got about 4,000 followers, so we're still growing, but it's kind of crazy how the world is today with influencing it. I mean, just with the little bit of followers we do have, I get free apparel all the time and stuff for us to try out, and we aren't anywhere where a lot of people obviously are, but it's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun comedic things there too, where we are like do's and don'ts of the gym, essentially. Like, don't be a Chad in the gym. Don't be I act out this chick named Brenda, and it's I don't know. I'll say it's not humiliating, but if I saw those people in person, they talked to me about it, it'd be a little embarrassing. But since I'm far away, it's like whatever.
Yeah. What's your biggest pet peeve or your biggest don't do at the gym? What do you hate?
We used to go to a gym. Well, I won't name any names, but I do not like it when people for those who aren't familiar with supersetting, it's where you put different exercises together and you couple them together, and they superset the world, and they'll superset dumbbells with the cables, with the squat rack, and they'll do all of these things all at once. And we're actually going to come out with a video making fun of that and people that do that, and where it's just everywhere my wife is working out, my head just pops up, and I'm just yo, I was using that, and I'm just coming out everywhere, hey, I'm still using that, and the guy hasn't been on it or the girl hasn't been on it for 20 minutes, and I'm still using it, yelling out from the bathroom, and that kind of stuff ticks me off. There's a nice thing to have, gym etiquette. Obviously, if there's nobody in the gym, do whatever the heck you want, but if you've got more than 4 or 5 people working around you, be conscious of it, But that's a big pet peeve of mine.
I totally agree. I actually went the other day, and that's kind of how it was. I spend a lot of my time on the treadmill though, because I don't say I like running, but my body can do long distance running really well. But I hate running on roads or it's cold outside. Yeah. But if I can go to the gym and I'm just on the treadmill and everything's the same, it's a freedom to a release for me.
Yeah.
But then I'll go do a little workout afterwards. But this guy, he brought his kid who was maybe 7 years old or something like that, and they just had using all the benches or I don't know.
Yeah.
Him and his 7-year-old kid, he would if they were using like 2 benches, like one for him, but then he would go over to the other bench to help his kid do it, and they like were doing it at the same time. And I'm like, dude, just use one, so I can use that
and switch off with each other. Yeah, some people like set up camp. Like we did a funny video on that where it's like I bring out my rice cooker, a suitcase, and and like all this other stuff, like just over the top, obviously, but just like they just kind of take over the area. And again, it's okay to a certain level to do that, but on prime times, which is like 5 o'clock and onward or 4 o'clock and onward, and just be conscious of the people in the gym. You know, you don't do that kind of stuff. You know, you just gotta suck it up, and you both work on the same bench. It might take a little longer, but like you said, then everyone can work out relatively.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I find myself speaking of like the gym and stuff. I think I suck at like working out.
Yeah.
I think, and because a lot of times I do just end up going to the gym alone. A lot of times I don't refer to myself as working out. I go to exercise.
Hey,
and it's something I kind of do. Like, I wouldn't say necessarily I have a struggle with, because like at least I'm kind of like getting out there and going to the gym, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think like one of the main reasons that I will go to like work out or do like exercise and stuff is like for like mental health stuff. I would say that it like helps a lot for me getting out like man hormones.
Yeah.
You know,
they're endorphins. You know,
endorphins.
Yeah, and
that's what it's called.
And people, it's like the first step of trying to work out. If you never take that first step, it's always going to seem as a trial and hard for you. Cardio sucks. Hate it. I've always hated it. It's never going to be fun to me. That's okay, you know, that's not a big problem. Some people like it. If you run long enough, that endorphin starts to kick in where you're like, I feel free. And it does. It releases certain hormones and things that release stress, lowest cortisol levels, things like that. That's why I recommend for a lot of people that don't like running or sprinting or anything like that do something low impact, you know, a little easier on the body, but like elevate your treadmill by, 3 or 4%, and then just walk, at a high elevation, low impact. You can still get the same feel. But anyways, that first step of getting out there, man, is how you start it all. It's all about routine, and once you start getting it going, then it becomes habit, and that's something easy to do. But I mean, I'll ask you, why do you feel like it's difficult to like, when you get in the gym, you're like, what am I doing? Like, how, you're not sure. Like you mentioned you aren't quite sure what to do, right?
Yeah, because like a lot of times, like I'll get there and I'm like, because like I said, I go by myself like quite a bit, and when I just like first start, because I just started going back to the gym pretty recently, and I'm not sure how much I can like lift.
Right.
I'm not sure like where my weight, like my max is, or whatever that, and I don't know. A lot of like actual like
workouts,
routines or whatever. Yeah. Because like I'll do just like the arm workouts that I know with like dumbbells, or just do like leg stuff that I know, or like machines there.
I think everyone should. I always tell clients that I've worked with and people I've worked with is like, keep it simple, stupid, and don't complicate it more than it already is complicated. Exercise and healthy living, it can become a very complicated and complex thing where it's hard to understand, and it seems big when you look at, like, it's like the whole elephant thing. Like, you try to eat the elephant all in one bite, it's very difficult, but you eat it, toenail by toenail, essentially, it's a little easier. You see it in small bites and small pieces. So when you approach working out the same way, attack every day by itself, you keep it simple, compound lifts, you got your bench, you got your deadlift, you got your military press, and you got your squat. And some people might not even know what compound lifts are, and that's very common. Like, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Obviously, thankfully today, Google is an amazing thing. And if my trainer would always tell me back in the day when I trained, before I went to ASU, I played football there, he would always tell me like, it's not that you're a bad person, that you don't work out or want to work out or whatever. None of that doesn't make you a bad person in the least bit. But people that have excuses for it and say, I just don't have time. I don't know nothing. I don't have nobody, et cetera, is not necessarily makes you bad or wrong, but it's just that it's not that important in your life right now. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want it to be important in your life and you want it to be that, a pillar in your life, then you can do it. I mean, just like you're doing this, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't start off this way just knowing all this stuff, right?
No, definitely not.
Lots of research, lots of watching other people do it and stuff like that, and you grew from that. And working out's a lot way the same way. That's why we have our Instagram, to learn and ask and watch and grow from there,
Yeah. So that's really interesting because when I ask for feedback on the podcast a lot, I know I get a lot of comments and people saying like, how do you take like that first step, and I'll ask you for working out before I get too into it, like what do you like? Do you have like any words of like encouragement for people who like want to take that first step, but they just don't have like that motivation yet? They're kind of like, I want this, but like it's just not there yet,
quite there. First you got to see what attracts you, right? If you're like, shapely looking women or men is not something for me. By shapely, I mean nice big shoulders, big butt, big legs, shapes. We got shapes on people, right? That's what people are looking for. They're looking for shapes. And first you start off, is that what I want? Is that something I like? Are those the things I aspire to? If you have no aspirations of anything fitness or health related, obviously it's going to be difficult to motivate, right? It's going to be hard. It's hard to motivate someone. But I really, in all honesty, and I've trained hundreds of people, I can honestly say I now granted I'm training people that are coming to me looking to have that motivation, but it's a slow, gradual thing. It's like it's like the frog in the kettle. Like if you throw a frog in a pot that's steaming, boiling hot, it'll jump right back out. It'll jump out immediately. But if you slowly turn it up as it sits in there, it just will die. It'll just sit there and bake. Right? It doesn't even notice the temperature change. I don't know why frogs are stupid. But that same analogy is taken in as it's a slow, incremental thing. Obviously we don't want you to die, but like a frog did, but you grow into it. It's a small thing. Beat it every day by waking up. Routine is paramount. It is a very important thing to do and have in your life. I like for me personally, I run a business of 45 people. I run 2 other LLCs, and it's a lot of work, but I know a lot of that work can get done, through steady, like organization and time and planning out my day. And if waking up, it's always starting off with that first accomplishment. Yeah. I woke up, I made my bed. Some people might see that as little. I do not. That's a start to a routine. That's awesome. Yeah. I make my bed. Your significant other will eventually love you one day for that. When you learn that habit, you know what I mean?
Take notes, boys.
Yeah. And like, hey, so-and-so makes their bed all the time, right? But those small things may seem small to you now, though, and they are. But by small things, it grows, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that same thing. Hey, wake up. I walk. I go up my stairs 3 times. Hey, that felt good. I did something. Let's check it off the list. Check it off your list, and then grow from there. Hey, today I'm going to get out and walk to the end of the road and back, or wherever you live or whatever. And then eventually maybe you can get into the gym, but maybe the gym's not your lifestyle. Maybe you do like to do things outside, and there's things for out there too. So if I was going to say, if you're going to try to find that motivation, is start small, win by little steps, and slowly grow on it. And then you'll find yourself like, wow, this is like an everyday thing for me. This is not too hard to handle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's something that I like to preach about, like myself a lot, as I call it, like winning streaks, little winning streaks. Yeah. Because there was a lot of times, and like for me personally, where I was like having a hard time being like happy throughout my day.
Yeah.
Or like finding happiness in my day. And like my seminary class will know this, but like for every day at lunch at school, I would go get like a Monster or something, like at lunch, and I would always just bring it to seminary, and I'm like, this is my winning streak for the day. Yeah. Because like where I was at in my life, I didn't have a lot of things that I found that brought me happiness, or I was having a hard time just like feeling like that. And so something I want to say that's like just to encourage other people that it doesn't matter. And in working out, it definitely could be working out, but I think it could be so many other things too. Oh, totally. Like for me, it was just getting a drink at lunch every day, just my winning streak. My winning streak. Just so even if I feel like I am having a rough day, at least I have like my winning streak to look forward to, right? And it constantly, and it just started like compounding, and then I was like, then I started like looking at like, oh, I hit that green light, even though we only have like one traffic light in Snowflake, but but it's like just like the little things. It just started compounding a bit before it came like a big thing. So I think that can definitely relate to working out.
Yeah,
relates to life.
It's a lifestyle. It doesn't have to be from. But the only way you're going to find wins is understanding what is winnable, right? Like like you see the connection between you getting that green on go, and recognizing that in your mind and understanding like, heck yeah, that was nice. That was a small win, and or the monster or anything like that. If you have a hard time recognizing it because you're just so stuck in the mud or with mentality or not, I had a hard time about 2 years ago with depression, real bad. And I ended up finding out I had a chemical problem with my brain. I was poisoned by copper, which was crazy. And and so it jacked me up.
So you had like copper like in your brain,
there's copper.
It was like a liquid.
Yeah. So everyone consumes copper in some way, right? And since I served my mission in Brazil, they didn't have filters or anything on their water. And there's copper in your pipes and stuff. So the newer houses don't have that, but the older homes do. And for whatever reason, I never listened to the people that I was supposed to listen to be like, hey, drink out of this like filtered bottle, because it takes so long. You'd like suck it off to get it, just to get a drip of water from it, and you're like dying of thirst. So I just drink it out of the tap, and it didn't affect me for a long time until I got off my mission. Everything felt fine, but it was like small, and then all of a sudden I was mood swings like crazy, up, down. It didn't make any sense, and it was the hardest thing for me to understand because I've been such a confident and go-getter all my life. Since high school. I felt like high school for me personally, like looking back, I wish I would have done some things differently, obviously, but it was chill. It was very simple, easy breezy. I got pretty much everything I wanted. I achieved the things I needed to achieve. I could have done a lot more, but in my mindset then, I did what I needed to do. I was happy. I had great friends. I ended up realizing stuff as well, but aside from that, it ended up affecting me, and I could not understand it. Eventually, I got help and was able to extract it essentially out of my brain, and now I don't feel that way anymore. But the PTSD of it still haunts me to this day.
I bet.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was kind of cool. Not cool because I'll be honest, I never understood it. I didn't, in my brain, if I saw a depressed or a sad person, I was like, just, don't be that way. It was very not understanding. Right. And it's out there more than ever today than it was back then. I think a lot of that has to do with social media and stuff, like seeing other people and so happy with happiness, and you're like, why can't I have that? But I think a lot of it can be fake too, and you don't see behind the lens type of thing. But
exactly.
Yeah, but I definitely, I'm kind of glad it happened to me, to be honest. It sucked, it really did. But I can understand it so much more. I can understand what people feel like. I can understand like, hey, I can understand why living is hard. Like just being alive is sucky right now, it's not maybe all the time, but when fate goes through, when it happens or that rush comes in, you're like, I don't like this at all. Like this is horrible. And anyways, but yeah.
So do you think, and I don't know if you know this statistic, but I'm kind of curious now. Do you think a lot of mental illnesses and stuff come from maybe something in our body that we don't know is there, or some kind of like unhealthy habit that we have?
I think several things have to deal with it. One, we have more processed foods than we ever had in any lifetime. Right? We also have a lot of healthy stuff too, but and I think food, dyes, all that kind of stuff, without getting too much into it, has to deal with our mental, our hormones and stuff like that. I mean, shoot, guys, anything affects your hormones, and if something affects your hormones, then that affects your mental capacity. It messes with your brain.
Yes.
Hormones are a crazy thing. And so imagine, that small dose of whatever. And that's why healthy living is more important beyond that, because it could help you with your mental state too. Cause how the heck, like, how do you deal with when it's in your head? It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I have flabby arms, I can go do push-ups and work it off and it goes away. with a brain, something in your head, it's a lot less, it's a lot more murky. It's hard to work it out. And also, I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think our social media, our Instagram, we're like the microwave generation. And I'm a big part of that. You know, by microwave generation, it's like, ooh, dude, done. I'm done, ready to go. I'm hungry now. I eat now, you know, and I get the things I want now. And that mentality, I don't know, creates something in our brains, you know, and even more so with the younger generation, that it's, like I said, you see things, other influencers, you want that life, and all the things around it, and you feel like your life is not good because it's not like that, and that's not it at all, you know. And everyone has their stage of growth, and it takes time and lots of effort, but everyone's at their own pace. I think, man, I'm gonna screw up her name. Who she was on the last one with you, Amanda. Nailed it. No, it's
the last episode.
Yeah,
Bailey.
Wow, I was way off.
Amanda.
Way off.
I mean, A and B are pretty close in the alphabet.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing an A. But anyways, she mentioned something like do you, pretty much, to the extent of, hey, you know, be yourself, do you. Who cares about what other people think, etc. You know, and there's a lot of truth to that. I think, in the sense of, you think so many people are watching you, but it's sad, but they don't really care, you know, in the sense of, like, I know when I was young, I would go to the gym and be like, yeah, I know everyone's paying attention to me, these bicep curls. I look good. You know what I'm saying? And then you end up realizing, you're like, no one gives a crap about me. They're all doing their own thing. They're all here to do their own thing and get their job done and then go home, you know? And I think if people focus on themselves and not worry so much about everybody else, one, it'll help them mentally, but two, they can get so much more done, you know, so much more progress and done, and things in mind.
100%. And I feel like that kind of like pertains to like my whole podcast and stuff, because I didn't have a lot of help like making it,
right?
Like putting like everything together, like all like, and especially all like the behind the scenes stuff, you know, like creating the website, creating the product, stuff like that. Like it took me a lot of effort and a lot of work that I didn't even realize was going to happen. Yeah. But I think there is something very satisfying about like taking your time and taking like little steps, if I can word this correctly, to just like do like the little things at a time, and to over time, when everything starts to build up and like compound, and then suddenly it's like it's all there for you, and it's just a big thing. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, they call that sweat equity, and it's like you did it with your own sweat, and you put the equity in and investment in it, whether how small or big it was, and over time it grew, and then you get to look back on it and you're like, heck yeah, you know, I did all this. And then not only does that, but you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like you got a new, I'm not going to say a new purpose to live, but there's another purpose there.
Yeah.
There's this other energy that you can't seem to get from any other thing, you know, and I think always having something like that in your life is crazy beneficial for a healthy lifestyle, mentally and physically, and just to find success in any way.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of cool though, because like earlier today, like for me, I was like, I woke up tired and not in the mood. You know, I was not feeling it. It started out to be one of those days, and I was like, but I still have to record a podcast and get it and edit it and get it out. And I was like, do I really want to? I'm like, I'm already my third week in, and I'm like,
Yeah. No, but see, that's probably like, when you woke up, which like, this is when it hits you and the grind starts, you know what I mean? Like, but if I turn down now, then, you know, how am I going to go back on the track again? And so probably turned your mindset around. You know?
I was like, wait, you know, like I wanted to do this, and I found a purpose of me, you know, like I feel like, cause there's a lot of people that tune into the podcast every like week. It's only been 2 weeks, and I still have DMs being like, yo, when's the next one coming out? Like that was sick. Keep doing it. Like, don't quit, you know? And like that, and that helps me out a lot too, you know, when I feel like people actually like care, especially. But the biggest thing for me is when I get like, if I get like, words of like encouragement from like my closest friends or like the closest people to me.
Cool. Yeah.
You know, I feel like a lot of times it's those people who like, because they like expect that from you. Yeah. You know, because they know you as a person.
Right. And you got some people in your corner, you know, and I mean, it's honestly, people do it a lot alone. But it's so much, I feel like it's always so much easier if you got people in your corner rooting for you, you know?
Exactly.
And if you don't, go find some people and see and get them in your corner, you know? Don't surround yourself with toxic people that they're going to bring you down or, you know, not support you in your dreams. There's too many of that, much of that already that's saying you can't make it or can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need those as your significant others or people that are right next to you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And so real quick before we move on real quick, I want to ask you something though. Like, cause I know I've gotten a lot of people who have asked me like to talk about how to like get through high school with like or like just to stay motivated to actually stay in school and finish it out. And like if actually getting those good grades and going to college is worth it. Cause I know a lot of it was like you had your athletics, like your sports or whatever that you wanted to get into college for. Like, was the schooling thing like it was hard to like kind of do schooling and athletics?
For motivation purposes, to go to the next, I'll do all that. I'm probably not the best person to speak to just because I have my own philosophies behind this, my own reasonings. Obviously, 100% get your high school diploma. I can't tell you. I work with a lot of people that don't have their high school diploma. You know, that are my employees, and I sometimes think some of them, you know, have growth there. You know, and they still could go get it. There's nothing stopping them. They just haven't yet.
Yeah.
And so if the company were to suddenly disappear, what would they do? You know, go work at another minimum paying job. And because a lot, if not almost every company that's worth anything to make any kind of substantial money at least requires you to have your high school diploma. You know what I mean? So I think that's always a gateway. Now, sadly, our what's it called? Our society requires you to go to college. I think it's dumb. I think depending on what it is, obviously. Like, please go to college if you want to be a doctor. I don't want you working on me if you don't have any knowledge there. But there's so much out there that's work experience that college does nothing for you, right? Like, what the job I'm doing right now, a college degree would, you know, it has done jack all for me, you know?
Yeah.
Business and communications does nothing, you know? Oh, sweet, I can talk to people. I could already do that really well.
Yeah.
And in an open setting, you know what I mean? And so, it's basically to show companies like, hey man, like, so we know you can like put some effort for 4 years into something, so shoot, you can go work for us. You know? It gets your foot in the door, and it's a sad reality we all live, but it is a reality, you know. And do I think you should go to a university unless you're really all about that frat life? Pointless. I think it's pointless. Or you're gonna go play like you know, athletics of some kind. There's no point. It costs so much money to go do something, to go to university just to have the college experience. Now, if that's for you, like the frat life, go for it. Like, I'm not stopping you. If it's worth to be 60 to 80 grand in debt right as soon as you leave college, if you didn't have a scholarship of any kind, then shoot, go for it. It's awesome starting your adulthood in 80,000 in debt. I love it, you know. But if you can still go to college, do it online. It's so much easier online, especially with COVID and everything everywhere. I mean, the pricing's cheaper. It's the same degree. You might not get to say I graduated from wherever, but nobody asked that. They really don't. they aren't like, so did you get? I'm not saying at an elite level, like let's say there's two high-end doctors. One went to Stanford and one went to NPC. Okay, so they might go with the Stanford guy if they're both equally the same, but in the end, they might not, because it's the same thing. You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying you can get a 4 degree at NPC, but I mean, maybe you can now. I don't know, but
I mean, that kind of makes sense though, because all colleges should be requiring the exact same.
It's the same requirements. Yeah. So all you essentially are doing is like, and this is putting it bluntly in layman's terms, is like, this is my Gucci purse and this is my slightly not Gucci purse. They look exactly the same. The wear and tear of it all. This has a cool brand name on it. This does not, you know, and that flexing on people might be your thing, you know, and that's fine. Like I said, I don't care. You do you, but in my personal opinion, I think starting your adulthood 60 to 80 grand in debt is not the smart way to go. And I'm not saying you still won't be in debt potentially from online schooling, but you'll be significantly a lot less.
Yeah.
And setting that up and it's just going to only excel you in life after it. Because let's be honest, life doesn't really start until like after college.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I think Tom McDonald says it best when he says, is it maybe him? I don't even know. The rapper, he's saying something like, how can you claim adulthood when you got no skills? And I'm not saying that we all don't have skills. I'm not saying that. But what he's kind of going for is like when you start to contribute to society and adding your toll in it, then that level of responsibility starts hitting real hard. And man, could I wish I could go back to high school, because it would, for me personally, like looking back, I don't know, me and my wife were talking about it the other day. We're like, and then this is just giving you an older person's perspective, but we're like, because I know high school now it's tough, because you're living it, but if you go ahead and look back, you're like, man, just not having all the responsibilities, kids, job. I mean, I got like 60, 70 families under me, that you gotta make this all work for them too, and there's a lot of weight there,
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but I do think you're right. I think that is the society that we live in, is everything is under brand name.
Yeah.
Because like everyone looks at every college different. But something that I always thought was interesting though, and I bring this up a lot, and it has to do with like money in college and stuff. Right. And so it requires money to go to college.
Yeah.
But we go to college so we can get a job to get money.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hard cycle, like to kind of like break out of or not fall into, because obviously I don't know if a lot of adults are going to be mad to hear that right now, that college, that universities aren't necessarily worth it unless you have like very specific desires and dreams.
Yeah.
Right. But just for the average Joe, think about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, the college is like, oh, you want to come here? Like, pay me money. It's like, but I want to go to your school so I can get the money.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's debt. And then it's just nuts.
Yep.
Because I feel like the whole entire U.S. currency, the U.S. dollar, is backed by debt and nothing else.
Yeah. You're 100% right. We're ruled by paper, which is kind of a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Like, I literally work 11 hours every day for a piece of paper. And that's kind of crazy to me, and I think that's why so many people drive so hard to find that financial freedom, and not have to be a part of that life, essentially. But that takes, not only is that really hard work or potential luck or whatever you want to call it. Either way, it's still hard work, but, you're still never like really free. That's still something you got to keep doing, because you got to keep it coming in, and you're 100% right. It is a vicious cycle that we live in that is set up to put you in debt. To reach out for the credit cards, to reach out for the things that put you even more in debt, and I think realizing that it's an issue it's just like the 5 steps of dealing with grief. Realizing that it's an issue and a problem is the first step, and being like, okay, I want to be financially free. I honestly think, what do they say now? Like, anybody that makes around 65, 70,000 a year can be a millionaire in their lifetime if they didn't have so much debt to deal with. Right. And 65 is like a pretty, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm obviously spitballing here, but in that area, that would if you could control your debt, you'd be that millionaire. But people can't, And I'm surrounded by people like that all the time, where I gotta, it's all about controlling the finances. And when you start finding that you're making more money, you start spending more money. It's your mentality, you're like, I'm getting paid 15 an hour now. And you're like, so my lifestyle is 15 an hour. And now I'm getting 20 an hour. Now my lifestyle is 20 an hour. Instead of just being like, my lifestyle was 12 an hour at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible, sure. But if I could go to 20 an hour and stay the lifestyle for 12 for a while, I could set some stuff up. I could invest. I could use my money elsewhere. But everyone always has to chase the check that they're attached to, and so they never get away from it. So it's this huge chase the tail. And I mean, shoot, I've been a part of it. I'm finally out of it, but I was a part of that for a very long time because I was stupid. But with age comes wisdom and lots of effort. Listening to stuff like this is a start, learning from others who tell you to, hey, do this. It doesn't necessarily mean they're always right, but it could start you off on the right track, And I think that's a big part of our issue with like money and the control of it and everything in today's society for sure.
Yeah. So on that topic, I want to get into investments for a little bit. But first question, did you buy the GameStop stocks when they exploded?
I did not.
Did you not?
I did not.
That's probably a good thing.
No. I think the government is sleazy. And all of them, anything that's too good to be true usually is. Yeah. You can sometimes sneak away with that kind of stuff. You know what's so sad?
What?
My buddy and me, back in 2009, I think I just graduated high school. See, I'm pretty old, guys. 2010, 2009, something like that. Uh-huh. And we were talking. We're like, dude, we had $1,000 to our name or something like that. We're like, what should we do? He's like, dude, we should invest in Bitcoin. And this, at the time, guys, mind you, it was like cents.
Yeah.
On the yeah. And we're like, we almost did it. But we were so attracted to $1,000, a measly $1,000. If I would have invested $1,000 then, I'd have like 170 million now.
Yeah.
Which
just from Bitcoin.
Just from that one single decision. I think, and going into investment, I think crypto is the quickest way to make any millionaire in today's society right now. It's very volatile. Yeah, you can screw up big time. But if you start seeing money as an investment, like, hey, I either lose or I win. It's kind of like a gamble. You could come out on it, but don't just do it free willy. Like right now, investing into Bitcoin is very difficult. In my personal opinion, and everything I've done research wise, I think everyone should try to own at least 1% of a Bitcoin. 1%. Because if it does blow up like everyone thinks it will, and I for good reason it might, over 3 years, then you might you could make some good money from there, and like substantial money. And I invested in Ethereum back when it was like $100, and I still have that. I'm thankful I did, but I did sell some of it for measly pennies on the dollar because I thought it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Man, you just stick to your guns. I had a gut feeling, and I know I should have stuck with it. Now, sure, I still have quite a bit of money from it, but I could have had a lot more, Yeah. And that goes for a lot of the other smaller coins that are actually affordable. If you do want to get into that are more affordable for even the high schooler, that you could get into now, those altcoins and stuff like that. This is going out with investment that we're not talking about like stocks and stuff. Cause I mean, I can go into that too.
Yeah. Well, I think in today's day, like crypto is probably the most important investment you can make.
It's not the most. It's the most chance of making money. I think like stocks are like still your tried and true in the sense of like for dividends, but it takes a lot. Like I think it's if you invest like 250 grand. Because I was trying to figure out like how can I make passively, and I know everyone knows that word. Well, maybe not everyone, but passive income essentially is making money while not working, right? Yeah. And it might take a lot of sweat equity to get there, but when you finally get there, you're chilling, right? You're making that money monthly in some facet.
Yeah.
And dividends in every stock you can have dividends in a lot of stocks where you pay a portion of money and they give you a share, and that's a dividend share. And as you pay more money to those dividends, they throw you back money every month or every year or every quarter. Hey, Mark, here's $100 for you own part of this company. We made so much money this year or this quarter. Here's some money, or this month. Here's $50.
Yeah. If
you get enough dividends, you can make livable, like retirable income from just every month. But we're talking, it's insane. Like I think
it's crazy to get good dividends from companies.
To get that high, you had to either start when they were crazy low and they blew up, or two, you suddenly got a huge influx of cash and you can drop it on it. Like I think if McDonald's is one of the highest give back out there. They're not the highest, but they're up there. And you'd have to invest like $200,000 to make $500 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Which is a lot of money, right?
That's crazy.
And you start thinking about it like, well, if I suddenly had 200,000, I guess over the course of 40 years of, I don't know what that would be. I don't got a calculator on me, but you might kind of make it back. But that is the start of like snowballing all that stuff. If you're young, do not think about it in hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands. Think about it as tens and fives. Like, dude, I make $10 every month doing nothing. Now, that may seem very small, but that's the start of it. That's how you get the snowball rolling. And
like we were talking about earlier, man, it's the little things, and then before it all starts to compound.
You start looking back in your life, you're like, literally, that's everything. Like, if you could just get the small part done and just keep compounding on those small things, then you start realizing, holy cow, I started with $10 when I was 16, and now I'm making $80, and now I'm at 17, and now I'm making $160 at 19, and and it's slowly, and you kept working on it. And by the time, guys, there is hardly anyone out there percentage wise that makes any money passively, hardly any.
Yeah.
So to say that you are entering adulthood already making something, that's a huge feat, in my opinion. I think that's really cool. I think you're off on the right track, and you got a smart head for it, and I think that's the right way to go for anyone if you ever want to escape the rat race of the government and the paper ruling you all the time.
Check to check living.
Yep.
Do you want to explain cryptocurrency like a little bit, or explain like Bitcoin, like as much as you know about it? Because I know there's a lot of people who have like heard about it but aren't entirely sure what it is, because it's backed by the computer. So basically,
there is a ton of coins out there. Crypto is what it's called, essentially. Now, I might boff this if you go look up the definition exactly, but I'm kind of pulling from memory here. But essentially, all sorts of these coins, like for example, Bitcoin is essentially like currency and in a digital world. Let's give it that name, right?
Yeah.
Where Ethereum is not currency, but it's the connection between the exchange of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then other coins do those other same actions like that. So it's like, for example, like if I was going to say Post Malone, I don't know if he created it or he's a part of it, but it's called like what was Zoo coin? It's like Zao or something like that. Anyways, he came out with a coin. I think it's going to be real big. I really do. But basically, it's I might be confusing, but he basically did it like with digital media currencies.
Okay.
Like, it gets really complex. Like there is a Sandbox coin. It's called Sandbox, and it's for like VR currency. Like it's like the space between virtual reality and video games.
Whoa.
Yeah, and you buy that space up. So it's like you go and buy real estate in a land that doesn't exist yet. It's wacky.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And so there's like another one called Celo, which is a really affordable coin, CELO, and for any buyer, I think it's like $4 right now, or something like that. And I think it's going to blow up. I really do. I think it's going to be huge. It's basically like how you do all your transactions, Venmo, all those peer-to-peer transactions and stuff like that. It helps out with that. It's like the security of it.
Gotcha.
And basically, cryptocurrency has so many applications. It's hard to define each one. Yeah. But it's in a digital world where it adds safety. The stuff with Robinhood that can't happen with crypto, stuff like that. And I think I think it's the way the world's going. I really do. Yeah. And I think you would be foolish not to invest in something, whether how small it is or whatever it is. I think, will your life be over if you don't? No, heavens no, because I know millions and millions and millions of people won't do anything with it because it's scary, Yeah. I think that's the way the world's going. And I don't know if you guys, I remember listening to this podcast about this guy who, I don't know if any of you guys have watched the movie. It's like Ready Check One Player or something like that. It's like this, it's basically like this virtual world you live in, right? And
like Ready Player One?
Yeah,
maybe?
That one. That's it.
Okay.
If you've ever seen it, pretty good film. But they talk about the space of time in there, and they're like how potentially in the future it could be a lot like that, and how like the world gets so congested and boggled down and everything's met through digitally that it's like, well, I kind of live in a digital world essentially, and that's kind of wacky to think about. But I don't, obviously I'd probably be dead by that time. But, who knows?
Yeah, I know. I'd say the world going that way for sure. But I know a lot of people, when I would talk to them about, because I think Bitcoin is one I probably know like most about when it comes to like cryptocurrencies. But I remember a lot of people would ask me the question. They're like, well, like, what is backing Bitcoin? They always ask that, like, what's backing Bitcoin? Like, there's nothing to back it up. And if you even look at it, like, what's backing up like gold and silver and like paper money?
Yeah.
Everyone just sees something for what it's worth, right? If we all see the $1 bill as worth $1, that makes it $1.
Yeah.
That's just because that's how we all see it.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, though, is like the difference between like your U.S. currency and like your Bitcoin is because like U.S. currency, your paper money, like the government can like print, like that.
It doesn't. It
debt backs it up.
Value and it's inflation,
and like you just start printing it out, and then it starts losing its value, and that's why I think crypto is also so important, especially in the near future, in my opinion, is that I think the U.S. dollar is going to start to kind of lose its value or whatever. But instead of Bitcoin, you can't just make more Bitcoins, right? The way they have it set up, it's only like it's a certain amount of currency or a certain amount of money.
There's a finite amount out there.
That because all those computers are what mining Bitcoin is what they call it. Right. And it's like that blockchain method, every time the computer cracks the code, it's
kind of like the same thing like gold,
Rubik's
right?
Cube
like gold has its property, its value, it's tangible, it's real. You can't make gold. You just have gold and make things out of gold. And they are saying, crypto or Bitcoin essentially is a lot like that. And that's how actually all of them are. They all have finite amounts of them. That's why that makes them so volatile, because some of them, like, you can buy into it. Ethereum is attached to Bitcoin because eventually to transaction Bitcoin, like they will in the future from business to business and all that, Ethereum will do that job for it. So that's why you see it rising with Bitcoin. And a lot of people think even Ethereum will become more than Bitcoin one day. As it becomes more of like, it's more reliable to have that transaction done and the coin involved in it versus the actual coin itself. It gets crazy. Like I said, it's pretty complex, but a lot of people freak themselves out going in. If you think of it in that big way, you just start with one thing and just keep, like, for me, it took me a good minute to like kind of get my head around it, because there is a lot of coins that do a lot of different things or they're for different things. And all those things potentially could make you good money, but it's kind of a lot like you said. Like, I think the American dollar will devalue, and I mean, with all this COVID stuff, all these stimulus packages that have been going out to people, it's fake money. It's gonna hurt us. I 100% think it will. And and I mean, that's why I'm selling my house now while the market's hot.
Might as well. And another thing about Bitcoin too that I think is because it's so secure. Like the things like with crypto too, like it's so secure. I remember like when I was like doing a lot of like my research on Bitcoin or whatever, they said like the only way that Bitcoin can be hacked is through like quantum computing. Which like isn't even like invented yet. And it's not even a thing. But yet someone can like hack a bank account pretty easy nowadays. It happens more and more.
There's like no fraud involved with Bitcoin, where there is all over the world with your accounts and your normal accounts. And I think there's a lot of security there that comes with crypto or having a coin. Without someone just physically going and stealing it from you, or like trading it from you, it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, pretty much. And your car can't get robbed.
You
leave your car unlocked. That's funny. All right. I think we'll pretty much wrap it up there, dude.
Okay.
It was a good episode. Anything else you got to say? Any more you want to talk about?
Again, I'll just plug in. Ripped Reidheads. Check us out, guys. I think you'll like us a lot. I think it might be right up your alley. Shoot us a DM if you need any help or anything with anything we've talked about. Support on Mark's channel, Unbasic. Buy some merch. I know I bought me a Pretty Baller sweater.
Yeah.
And I really like the colors. And I really appreciate you bringing me on. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'd love to, if people got questions or anything like that, anything more specific, I'd love to answer them anytime if you want to do it again sometime. But yeah, man, I appreciate you bringing me on.
Awesome. For sure, man. Yeah. So Rip Reidheads will be in the description. Their Instagram page will all be there. Also link to the merch. That'll also be in the description. Go subscribe, like, comment, do all that good stuff. See you guys later.
Peace.